Deep, thoughtful voice with a slow, reflective tone, mixed with soft ambient wind sounds. As I stood on the summit of Everest, the highest point on earth, I expected to feel triumph, to be overwhelmed with joy. But instead, I felt something different, something deeper. A sense of humility washed over me. I looked at the vast, endless expanse below, peaks piercing through the clouds, valleys stretching beyond the horizon. I had conquered the mountain, but at that moment, I wondered, was this the final peak? Was there anything higher to climb? A strange sadness filled me. Had I already achieved the ultimate? What lay ahead? The wind howled around me, but I stood still, lost in thought. Everest had tested my body, my endurance, my will. But now, as I looked out from this great height, I realized the greatest summits are not just mountains of rock and ice. The true challenge, the true climb lies within. Warm, reflective voice with soft orchestral music in the background, gentle wind and distant mountain echoes. As I stood on the highest point on earth, exhaustion coursed through my body, yet my spirit felt weightless. The struggle, the pain, the endless battle against the mountain, all of it had led to this moment. And in that moment, I felt something beyond victory, beyond pride. I felt joy, an overwhelming, deep, lasting joy that I knew would stay with me forever. Mount Everest had tested every part of me, physically, emotionally, spiritually. And now, standing here, I knew that I was no longer the same man who had begun this journey. I had changed. The mountain had given me something more than a summit. It had given me a new understanding of myself, of life, of what it means to truly endure. The joy of Everest was not in the conquest, but in the transformation it brought within me. Deep, breathy voice with the sound of harsh wind, labored breathing, and ice crunching underfoot in the background. Step by step. Breath by breath. Every inch of this climb feels impossible. The wind howls, the ice fights back, and my body begs me to stop. My legs burn, my lungs strain for air, and I wonder, why did I choose this path? Why did I come here, knowing the mountain would break me? I glance back at my companion. He is struggling just as much, yet he does not stop. His presence alone pushes me forward. We are bound not just by this rope, but by something greater, determination, trust, and the unspoken promise to reach the top together. The summit is near, but it feels unreachable. My mind screams for me to turn back. But something deep inside refuses to surrender. Just one more step. And then another. The mountain will not break me today. Underscore 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 underscore. Soft, reflective voice with subtle wind sounds in the background. A faint, distant chime plays as the climbers place their offerings. This was never about conquest. It was never about proving dominance over a mountain. As I stood on the summit of Everest, I did not feel like a victor, I felt humbled. Humbled by the sheer vastness of the world beneath me, by the power of nature, by the fragility of human existence in this frozen expanse. With trembling hands, I placed a picture of Guru Nanak on the snow, offering my silent gratitude. Beside me, my companions honored their own faiths. Rawat left an image of Goddess Durga, Fudorji a sacred Buddhist relic. Years before us, Edmund Hillary had left a simple cross, buried beneath a mound of stones. These were not trophies of conquest. They were symbols of devotion. of reverence, of the understanding that no matter how high we climb, we are always small in the face of the divine. Everest did not belong to us, we belonged to it. Underscore 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 underscore. Soft, introspective voice with the sound of crunching snow, distant wind, and faint breathing in the background. With every step down, the weight on my body lessened, but the weight on my mind grew heavier. The summit was behind me now. What had once been my greatest goal had already become a memory. And yet, instead of relief, I felt a strange emptiness. Why did I climb Everest? What had truly brought me here? Was it for the challenge, the thrill, the victory? Or was it something deeper? The mountain had tested my body, but more than that, it had tested my mind, my spirit. And now, as I descended, I realized the real challenge was never the peak itself. The real challenge was within me. Deep, reflective voice with the sound of wind, distant echoes of ice cracking, and a faint heartbeat like drum in the background. Why do we climb? Why do mountains call to us, pulling us toward their jagged, frozen heights? Some say we climb because it is there. But it is more than that. It is the challenge, the struggle, the battle against the impossible. It is the test of willpower, endurance, and spirit. Everest, with its brutal ice, merciless winds, and thin air, does not welcome climbers, it defies them. And yet, we return. Perhaps it is because, in overcoming these obstacles, we overcome something within ourselves. Each step through the ice, each breath taken in the thin, unforgiving air, is a reminder that we are capable of more than we ever imagined. The joy of climbing is not just in reaching the top, but in knowing we have conquered our own doubts, our own fears. Everest is not just a mountain. It is a mirror, reflecting the strength and the limits of those who dare to face it. Gentle, nostalgic voice with soft mountain wind and birds chirping in the background. Even as a child, I felt the pull of the mountains. While others found comfort in the bustling cities and endless plains, I felt restless, out of place. But here in the shadow of the great peaks, I felt alive. The mountains were more than just towering rocks. They were something greater, something eternal. Their silence spoke to me in a way that nothing else could. They offered solitude, yet never loneliness. They were distant, yet always felt like home. As I grew older, that longing never faded. The mountains called to me, and I knew I would answer. Because to me, they were not just a challenge to be conquered, they were a part of who I was. Deep, introspective voice with soft, echoing wind and heartbeat like drum beats in the background. I thought Everest would be the greatest challenge of my life. I thought that once I stood on its peak, I would have conquered it all. But as I descended, I realized the true summit was not the one of rock and ice. It was the one within me. Every person carries their own Everest. It is not always a mountain, it is fear, it is doubt, it is pain. It is the voice that tells you to turn back, to give up. And just like Everest, it is steep, it is unforgiving, but it can be climbed. The hardest climb is not on the slopes of a mountain, but in the mind. The greatest victory is not in reaching the highest peak, but in conquering the self. And that journey never ends. Strong, steady voice with the sounds of wind, crunching ice, and slow, rhythmic breathing in the background. Every step is a battle. The cold bites into your skin, the wind howls in your ears, your body begs you to stop. The weight of exhaustion pulls you down, and doubt creeps into your mind. This is climbing. But more than that, this is life. There are moments when you feel like turning back, when the struggle seems too great, when the peak feels impossibly far. But the only way forward is through. One step at a time. One breath at a time. The pain does not disappear, the obstacles do not vanish, but your will becomes stronger. Success is not about strength alone. It is about endurance, persistence, the refusal to surrender. Because the true summit is not reached by those who are the fastest or the strongest, but by those who never give up. Calm, reflective voice with soft, ambient music and distant mountain wind in the background. I thought Everest would be the end of my journey. But in truth, it was only the beginning. Standing on the highest point in the world, I felt small, humbled by the vastness of the universe, by the enormity of what lay beyond this peak. I had conquered Everest, but I knew then, the greatest mountains are not made of rock and ice. The real summits are the ones within, the fears we must overcome, the doubts we must silence, the battles we must fight in our hearts and minds. These summits are higher than Everest itself, and they take a lifetime to climb. Everest changed me. It taught me that the climb never truly ends. That every challenge, every hardship, every moment of struggle is a step toward something greater. And that the only way to reach new heights is to keep climbing.